My name is Madison Claire Bennett, and I'm 35 years old. For most of my adult life, I thought love announced itself in big ways. Expensive dinners, perfect photographs, someone's hand on your back at a party, so everyone knew you belonged to each other. I didn't understand until last Christmas that sometimes love is quieter than that. Sometimes, love is an old woman sitting under a yellow kitchen lamp, forcing her swollen fingers through another row of yarn because she wants her daughter to feel remembered. And sometimes disrespect is loud enough to tear through a room like fabric ripping at the seams. I had been dating Ryan Keller for a year and a half. We met through work, though not in the romantic way people describe in movies. No spilled coffee. No slow-motion glance across a conference table. He was in sales. Smooth and quick with people. I was in operations. The one who fixed the messes after sales promised miracles. At first, that difference felt charming. Ryan could walk into a room and make strangers laugh within 5 minutes. He remembered names, ordered confidently, dressed like every dinner might be photographed. I was quieter, more practical. The kind of woman who checked the weather before leaving the house and saved boxes just in case. By 6 months, we were talking about moving in together. By a year, we had met each other's families enough times to know where everyone stood. His family cared about presentation, matching pajamas on Christmas morning, coordinated wrapping paper, a dining table that looked like a magazine spread. Mine cared about showing up. My mother, Helen Bennett, was 68 and lived 2 hours away in a small house with blue shutters and a porch that always smelled faintly of pine cleaner and cinnamon. She had arthritis in both hands. It had gotten worse over the last 5 years, especially in winter, when the cold seemed to settle directly into her knuckles. But she still knitted scarves, hats, mittens, odd little blankets for babies who were already too big by the time she finished them. Every Christmas, she made me something. That October, she called me while I was folding laundry. "I'm making you something special this year," she said, her voice bright, in that careful way she used when pretending she wasn't tired. "It's taking longer than usual, but I think you'll love it." "Mom, you don't have to do that. Your hands, Madison. Just my name." Soft, but final. Then she laughed. "I want to. You're my daughter. Let me do this." So I did. The package arrived 10 days before Christmas. Ryan was at my apartment that evening. We had ordered Thai food, and he was half watching some video on his phone while I cut through the tape on the box. The return label had my mother's handwriting on it. Slightly shaky, but still elegant. Inside was tissue paper, folded carefully. Then the sweater. It was green and red. Aggressively Christmas, with a reindeer on the front, whose eyes pointed in 2 different emotional directions. Across the back, in crooked white letters, it said "Merry Christmas." Though the spacing made it look like the sweater had run out of confidence halfway through, it was ugly. Truly ugly. The kind of thing someone would wear to an office party and win a prize for. But I knew exactly what it had cost her. Not money, time, pain, patience. Love measured in stitches. So I smiled. Before I even realized I was smiling, I pulled it over my shirt, tugged the hem down, and turned around. "What do you think?" Ryan looked up from his phone. His face changed. Not amusement. Not surprise. Something colder. "You're not seriously wearing that." I laughed once, thinking he was joking. "Of course I am. My mom made it. Madison." He set his phone down slowly. That is hideous. The smile slipped from my face. It's homemade. Exactly. She spent months on this. She should have spent those months on literally anything else. For a second, the apartment went strangely quiet. Even the traffic outside seemed to pull away from the windows. That's my mother you're talking about, I said. I'm talking about the sweater. No. You're talking about her effort. He stood up and walked toward me, studying the sweater like it was a stain on my life. Babe, I love you, but your mom has no taste. You can't show up to Christmas wearing that. My family would never let me hear the end of it if they saw pictures. My family Christmas is in 3 days, I said. And yes, I'm wearing it. He folded his arms. Then I'm not going. Fine. His eyebrows lifted. Fina, don't go. You're choosing an ugly sweater over me. No, I said, my voice lower now. I'm choosing my mother's feelings over your ego. That was when something in his expression hardened. He reached for the sweater. At first, I thought he was going to touch the crooked reindeer and make another cruel joke. Instead, he grabbed the shoulder and yanked. Ryan, stop. The seam split. A sharp little ripping sound cut through the room. I froze. He pulled again. Harder. And the yarn gave way. The reindeer's face twisted. One antler unraveling in his hand. What the hell are you doing? Saving you from embarrassing yourself. He kept pulling. I grabbed at his wrist, but he jerked away, tearing the front panel open. Green and red yarn spilled down like something wounded. The crooked white letters stretched, snapped, disappeared into loose strands. It took less than a minute, maybe 30 seconds. My mother's months of work lay in pieces on my floor. Ryan breathed hard, like he had won an argument. There, he said. Now you can't wear it. I looked down at the yarn, then at him. Get out. His face shifted. Madison, get out of my apartment. You're being dramatic. I bent down and picked up one torn sleeve. The cuff still held its shape. I could picture my mother's fingers, making it slowly, carefully, probably stopping every few rows to rub her knuckles. Her hands made this. I said. Ryan said nothing. Her hands hurt every day. And she still made this for me. I said, You destroyed it because it didn't look good enough for you. His jaw tightened. It was a sweater. No, I said. It was love. And you ripped it apart. For the first time. He looked uncertain. Madison. I overreacted. You need to leave. He grabbed his coat from the chair. Angry again. Because regret was too uncomfortable for him to hold. You're going to throw us away over this. I looked at the ruined sweater in my hands. No, I said. You already did. When the door closed behind him, I sat on the floor with the pieces in my lap. For a long time, I didn't cry. I just tried to fit the torn edges together. As if patience could undo cruelty. It couldn't. The next morning, I woke up hoping the previous night would feel less real. It didn't. The torn pieces of the sweater were still sitting on my dining table, where I had carefully laid them out before going to bed. In daylight, the damage looked even worse. The ripped shoulder, the shredded front panel, the loose strands hanging like broken promises. I picked up one piece and ran my thumb across the yarn. My mother had probably spent hours on this section alone. The thought made my chest ache. I called her that afternoon, not because I planned to tell her the truth, because I needed to hear her voice. Madison, she answered cheerfully. Did the sweater arrive? It did. And I swallowed. I love it. The smile in her voice was immediate. Oh. Good. I was worried the reindeer looked strange. I laughed despite myself. Mom. The reindeer definitely looks strange. I knew it. But I love it anyway. That's all that matters. The guilt nearly crushed me. After we hung up, I sat alone for a long time. Then my attention drifted toward the closet, toward the stack of wrapped presents. The gifts I'd bought for Ryan's family, his mother, his father, his sister, his niece and nephew, almost $800 total. Not because I wanted to spend that much, because Ryan had insisted. My family takes Christmas seriously. He'd said repeatedly, "You need to make a good impression." I remembered standing in crowded stores searching for exactly the right items. The whiskey set his father would love, the designer scarf his mother had hinted about, the expensive kitchen appliance his sister wanted, the toys for the kids, hours of effort, days of planning, money I could have spent elsewhere. And suddenly I realized something. I didn't owe any of them a single thing. Not anymore. The next morning, I loaded everything into my car. By sunset, every gift had been returned. $800 back in my account. $800. I suddenly felt very good about keeping. That evening, Ryan texted, "Can we talk?" I stared at the screen, then put the phone down. 5 minutes later, it buzzed again. "I'm sorry." Another message. I overreacted. Then, "Please answer." I didn't. At 9 o'clock, someone knocked on my apartment door. I already knew who it was. Ryan stood there holding a grocery store bouquet that looked purchased 15 minutes earlier. "Can we talk?" "No. Please." Against my better judgment, I stepped outside and closed the door behind me. His eyes looked tired. For a second, I almost felt sorry for him. Then I remembered yarn scattered across my floor. "I'm really sorry," he said immediately. "You should be." I lost my temper. "You destroyed something irreplaceable." "I know." "No," I said quietly. "I don't think you do." He exhaled heavily. "I wasn't thinking." "Exactly. Madison. My mother made that sweater with hands that hurt every day." His shoulders sagged. "I know. She spent months making something for me, because she loves me." "I know. And your response was to tear it apart because it wasn't stylish enough." His jaw tightened. I said I was sorry. The irritation behind his apology caught my attention. It wasn't remorse. It was frustration. He wanted forgiveness. Immediately. Like an item on a checklist. Like apologizing should erase consequences. "You need to go home." His eyes widened. "Seriously?" "Yes. You're ending a 1.5-year relationship over a sweater." There it was again. A sweater. Just a sweater. As if that were the point. "No," I said. "I'm ending it because of what your actions revealed." "What does that even mean?" "It means kind people don't do what you did." Silence. The words landed harder than I expected. Because they were true. Ryan looked away first. "Can I still come to Christmas?" The question actually shocked me. "Are you serious?" "I'll apologize." "No. I'll be on my best behavior." "No. Madison, I don't want you there." His face darkened. "That's ridiculous." "Maybe. Your family likes me." "Not anymore." "You didn't tell them." "No. But you will. Eventually." His expression shifted. For the first time, fear flickered behind the anger. Not fear of losing me. Fear of being judged. Fear of other people knowing. That told me everything. "Good night, Ryan." I went inside and locked the door. He knocked twice. Then 3 times. Then finally left. The next day, the texts returned. Different strategy. "What am I supposed to tell my family?" "Tell them I can't make it. They bought gifts for you. I'm sure they'll survive." A minute later, my mom says you've been distant. I didn't answer. Then, did you buy gifts? Yes. Where are they? Returned. The typing bubble appeared instantly. You returned them. Yes. Madison. Are you insane? Not currently. My family is expecting those. Your family will recover. You're doing this to punish me. No. I'm doing it because we're broken up. We're not broken up. I stared at the screen, then laughed. Not because it was funny, because it was unbelievable. He genuinely thought he could decide that. I called him. He answered immediately. Finally. We're done. Ryan. No. We're having a rough patch. No. Couples fight. Couples fight. I agreed. Most don't destroy gifts made by disabled mothers. Silence. Then? You're making me sound like a monster. No. I looked at the ruined sweater pieces folded carefully inside a storage box beside my couch. Your actions did that. He hung up first. Christmas Eve arrived cold and gray. The kind of winter day where the sky looked exhausted. I was packing my car for the drive to my parents' house when another knock came. This time, I almost didn't answer. Almost. Ryan stood there again. No flowers, no rehearsed smile. Just desperation. 5 minutes. Why? I started therapy. I blinked. What? I talked to someone. Isaiah. Against every instinct. I let him inside. He sat on the couch while I remained standing. She says I have control issues. I said nothing. She thinks I reacted because I felt embarrassed. You were embarrassed. I know. She thinks I care too much about appearances. I folded my arms. She might be onto something. He looked down, for the first time since all this began. He seemed genuinely ashamed. Not defensive. Ashamed. I don't know why I did it. He admitted. Yes. You do. His eyes lifted. You thought something important to me wasn't important enough. The truth landed between us. Neither of us spoke for several seconds. Finally, he asked softly, Is there any way to fix this? I looked around my apartment, the half-packed suitcase, the Christmas gifts for my parents, the framed photo of my family on the bookshelf, the life waiting for me beyond this conversation. Then I looked at him and saw someone I no longer trusted. Maybe someone who regretted what he'd done, but still someone I didn't trust. No. His face fell. Madison, some things don't break all at once. He frowned. What does that mean? It means the sweater wasn't the relationship ending. I picked up my car keys. It was the thing that revealed the damage already there. The words seemed to hit him harder than anything else, because deep down, I think he knew they were true. A few minutes later, he left. This time without arguing, without knocking again, without demanding another chance. I locked the door behind him, finished loading my car, and drove toward my mother's house. I thought the worst part of the story was behind me. I was wrong, because Christmas would bring a secret I couldn't keep forever. And after Christmas, something would arrive at my apartment door that would change everything again. Christmas at my parents' house felt like stepping into a different world. The moment I walked through the front door, the familiar smell of cinnamon, coffee, and pine wrapped around me like a blanket. My father was in his recliner, pretending not to watch football. My sister, Lauren, was trying unsuccessfully to stop her youngest son from stealing cookies before dinner. And my mother was standing in the kitchen wearing one of her old knitted cardigans, smiling the moment she saw me. For a little while, everything felt normal, safe, exactly what Christmas should feel like. Nobody mentioned Ryan, not at first. My mother hugged me longer than usual. My father asked about work. The kids demanded presents. The evening passed with laughter and noise, and wrapping paper scattered across the living room floor. For a few hours, I almost forgot. Almost. Then, after dinner, my mother found me alone on the back porch. The winter air was cold enough to sting. She handed me a mug of hot chocolate. "You seem sad," she said gently. I stared out across the yard. Do I? A mother notices things. I smiled weakly. "Ryan isn't here." "No." "You two broke up." I nodded. She looked disappointed, but not surprised. "Was it serious?" "It was." "Do you want to talk about it?" "No." The answer came too quickly. She studied me for a moment, then squeezed my hand. "Okay. No pressure, no interrogation, just understanding." That somehow made me feel worse, because she deserved the truth, and I wasn't giving it to her. Later that night, after everyone else had gone to bed, Lauren cornered me in the kitchen. She crossed her arms. "What happened?" I pretended not to understand. "With Ryan." "Lauren, don't." Her eyes narrowed. "You look like someone kicked your dog." I laughed, despite myself, then Sahil, and finally told her everything. The package, the sweater, the argument, the tearing, the breakup, every detail. By the time I finished, Lauren looked ready to commit several felonies. "He did what?" Her voice echoed through the kitchen. I immediately glanced toward the hallway. "Keep your voice down." "That man tore up Mom's sweater." "Lauren. She spent months making that." "I know." "What kind of person does that?" I didn't have an answer, because I still couldn't understand it myself. Lauren paced the kitchen, then stopped. "You didn't tell Mom." "No." "Why?" "Because what good would it do? She deserves to know. It would hurt her." Lauren stared at me for a long moment. Then her expression softened. "You're too nice." "That's not what Ryan said." "Then Ryan was an idiot." That earned a laugh. A real one. The first I'd had in days. She hugged me before heading upstairs. "You'll find someone better." I hoped she was right. The day after Christmas, I drove back to my apartment. The holiday was over. The breakup was over. Or, at least, I thought it was. When I reached my building, there was a package sitting outside my door. No return address, just my name. A strange knot formed in my stomach. I carried it inside, opened it on the kitchen counter. Inside was a Christmas sweater, store-bought, professionally made, green and red, reindeer on the front. It looked surprisingly similar to the one my mother had made. Tucked inside was a handwritten note. "Madison, I know this doesn't replace what I destroyed. I know nothing can, but I wanted to try. I'm sorry for all of it. Ryan." I stared at the sweater, then laughed once. Not because it was funny, because he still didn't understand. He thought the sweater itself was the issue, not what it represented. Not the months of work, not the sacrifice, not the love, just the object. I took a picture, sent it to him, then typed, "Don't contact me again." My phone rang immediately. I declined the call. A text followed seconds later. I was trying to make it right. "You can't. Please. No." I spent days looking for that sweater. That's the problem. It's not about the sweater. Then what is it about? I stared at the screen, then typed, "It's about respect." A few minutes later, I blocked his number. Again. The following week was quiet. Peaceful. The kind of silence that feels unfamiliar after chaos. Then one afternoon, my phone rang. Unknown number. I almost ignored it. Almost. "Hello? Madison." A woman's voice. "Yes. This is Carol Keller, Ryan's mother." I froze. "Oh." There was a brief silence. Then she sighed. "Ryan told me what happened." I sat down slowly. "I see." I wanted to call and apologize. "You don't need to do that." "Yes. I do." Her voice sounded exhausted, because I didn't raise him to treat people like that. I didn't know what to say, she continued. When he told us what happened, his father and I were horrified. I rubbed my forehead. Carol. Really? This isn't your responsibility. Maybe not. Her voice softened. But your mother spent months making something for you. Yes. And my son destroyed it. The shame in her voice sounded genuine. That's unacceptable. For several seconds, neither of us spoke. Then she surprised me. Your mother must love you very much. The comment caught me off guard. She does. I can tell. I swallowed. So does yours. Another silence. Longer this time. Then she said quietly, I hope someday Ryan becomes the kind of man who understands what he threw away. After we hung up, I sat in my apartment staring at nothing, thinking, not about Ryan, about mothers, about how two women who had never met somehow understood each other perfectly. The first week of January passed quietly. Then an email arrived from Ryan. Apparently, he had found another way around being blocked. The message was enormous, pages long, apologies, therapy updates, reflections, regret. For the first time, there were no excuses, no defensiveness, no blaming stress or embarrassment, just accountability. At the very end, one paragraph caught my attention. I contacted a knitting supply store near your mother's town. I paid for a year's worth of yarn and materials. They delivered everything anonymously. I know I don't deserve forgiveness, but I wanted to support something she loves. I read that sentence 3 times, then 4, then 5. Part of me was irritated. He had involved my mother again. Another part of me couldn't deny the gesture seemed sincere. I called my mother. Mom? Hi. Sweetheart. Did you get a package recently? Oh. Yes. She sounded delighted. The beautiful yarn. Beautiful. Madison. Some of it is imported wool. The colors are gorgeous. I smiled despite myself. Do you know who sent it? No. Then she laughed softly. Though I suspect you know more than you're telling me. Maybe. Well, whoever sent it was very kind. After we hung up, I sat in silence for a long time. Eventually, I replied to Ryan's email. Mom received the yarn. Thank you, but nothing changes between us. Please don't contact me anymore. His reply came less than an hour later. I understand. I won't contact you again. Take care of yourself. Madison. And just like that, he disappeared. No calls, no emails, no surprise visits. Weeks passed. For the first time since Christmas, I began to believe the story was finally ending. I had no idea. The biggest surprise was still waiting, because 3 weeks later, Ryan would appear at my mother's front door, carrying something I thought was gone forever. And when my mother learned the truth, nothing would remain hidden anymore. 3 weeks later, my phone rang at 1:17 p.m. I almost ignored it. Almost. When I saw Lauren's name on the screen, I answered immediately. Everything okay? Depends on your definition of okay. My stomach tightened. What happened? There was a pause. Then she said, Ryan showed up at Mom's house today. I sat upright on my couch. What? Yeah. Why? He brought a box. For a second, neither of us spoke. I already knew I wasn't going to like whatever came next. Lauren exhaled. He asked to talk to Mom. Did she let him in? She didn't know what was happening. She thought maybe you'd sent him. I rubbed my forehead. What was in the box? Another pause. Then, the sweater. I froze. What? The original sweater. My heart skipped. The one he destroyed. Yes. How? Apparently, he tracked down some textile restoration company. I stared into space. They repair vintage clothing, museum pieces, antique fabrique. I couldn't process it. The sweater isn't perfect. Lauren continued. You can still see where it was torn. Some sections had to be rebuilt. A few parts couldn't be saved. I closed my eyes, but it's recognizable. A lump formed in my throat. The image appeared instantly in my mind. The green yarn, the crooked reindeer, the uneven stitching my mother had worried about, something I thought was gone forever. What happened after that? Lauren let out a slow breath. He told Mom everything. My eyes opened. What? The entire story. I stood so quickly. The couch shifted behind me. He told her everything. I couldn't speak. For weeks, I had protected my mother from the truth, and in one afternoon, Ryan had exposed all of it. Lauren continued carefully. At first, Mom just listened. Then, she got very quiet. That worried me more than yelling would have. Anyone could handle anger. My mother's silence was something else entirely. She thanked him for bringing the sweater, and she asked him to leave. That's it. Pretty much. What did Ryan do? He tried apologizing again. Lauren paused. Mom kept saying the same thing. What? Thank you for bringing it back. Please leave now. I sat back down, exhausted, conflicted, angry, relieved, all at once. How is she? She was upset. My chest tightened. At me. No. Lauren's voice softened, mostly because someone destroyed something she made. I looked down, and because you didn't tell her, I closed my eyes. Of course, I was trying to protect her. I know. But she wishes you trusted her enough to tell her. After we hung up, I barely slept. The next morning, I called my mother. She answered immediately. Hi. Sweetheart. Hi. Mom. Silence. Then. Your sister told you. Yeah. Another pause. Then she asked the question I knew was coming. Why didn't you tell me? I looked out my apartment window. I didn't want to hurt you. Oh. Honey. Her voice immediately softened. The sweater wasn't important. It was important to me. No. She laughed gently. You were important. That nearly broke me. Mom, the sweater mattered because I made it for you. My eyes stung, but what mattered most was that you loved it. I wiped at my face. You spent months making it. I would have spent another 6 months if I needed to. She said it so casually, as though love was the easiest thing in the world, as though pain had never entered the equation. Then her tone changed. Promise me something. What? Don't protect me from the truth. I didn't answer immediately. I can handle hard things. Madison. I know. No. She chuckled softly. I don't think you do. That made me laugh through tears. Okay. Good. Then she surprised me. What Ryan did yesterday took courage. I blinked. What? He could have hidden. Mom, he could have protected himself. I leaned back. He still destroyed your sweater. Yes. And that's terrible. Then why are you defending him? I'm not. Her voice remained calm. I'm saying people make mistakes. Big mistakes. Yes. Cruel mistakes. Yes. We sat with that truth together. Then she said, what matters is what they do afterward. I didn't know how to respond, because part of me hated that she might be right. A few days later, I did something I hadn't planned to do. I texted Ryan. From a different number. One simple message. I heard what happened. The reply came less than a minute later. I'm sorry. I stared at the screen. Then typed, Mom appreciated what you did. A long pause. Then, I never meant to hurt her. I know. Another pause. Then, would you meet me? I considered ignoring the question. Instead, I surprised myself. Coffee. 1 hour. Tomorrow. His response arrived instantly. Thank you. The next afternoon we met at a coffee shop near a city park. Ryan was already there, and for the first time since I'd met him. He looked completely stripped of ego. No designer jacket, no perfect smile, no polished confidence, just a tired man, carrying the weight of his own choices. Hi, he said quietly. Hi. We sat down. The conversation started awkwardly, then gradually deepened. He told me about therapy, about insecurity, about needing approval, about obsessing over appearances, about growing up believing everything had to look perfect. And eventually he admitted something that caught me off guard. The sweater scared me. I stared at him. A sweater scared you. He laughed bitterly. Not the sweater itself. Then what? What it represented. I remained silent. Your mother loved you enough to spend months making something imperfect. His eyes lowered, and somehow that felt threatening. I frowned. Why? Because everything in my world was conditional. The confession hung in the air. My parents loved me. He continued. But achievement mattered. I listened. Success mattered. He swallowed. Image mattered. The realization seemed painful. Your family wasn't like that. No. No. He shook his head slowly. They loved each other loudly. Neither of us spoke. Then he looked directly at me. I hated that about myself, when I finally understood it. For the first time, I believed him, not because he wanted forgiveness, but because he seemed genuinely ashamed, and shame can sometimes be the beginning of growth. Eventually, our coffees were empty. The conversation slowed. The silence between us no longer felt hostile, just finished. When we stood to leave, Ryan smiled sadly. I don't expect another chance. You shouldn't. I know. He nodded. I'm still sorry. I know. Then he walked away. And this time, I let him. 4 months have passed since then. Ryan and I never got back together. We exchanged a few messages afterward. Nothing more. According to mutual friends, he's still in therapy, still trying to become a better version of himself. I genuinely hope he succeeds. As for me, life moved forward, slowly, healthily, the way healing usually does. My mother finished another sweater recently. Navy blue, elegant, simple, no reindeer, no crooked lettering, just beautiful craftsmanship. When she handed it to me, I smiled. This one is perfect. She laughed. The other one was perfect too. Mom, it was. She squeezed my hand, because I made it for you. The restored Christmas sweater sits in my closet now, fragile, damaged, impossible to fully repair. A lot like trust. I keep it anyway, not as a reminder of Ryan, not as a reminder of heartbreak, but as a reminder of something more important, the difference between things that look valuable and things that actually are. A few weeks ago, I met someone new. His name is Ethan. He's a special education teacher, patient, kind, the sort of person who listens carefully before speaking. When I eventually told him the story of the sweater, his reaction was immediate. That's awful. Yeah. How could someone do that? I shrugged. People are complicated. Maybe. He shook his head. But kindness isn't complicated. That stayed with me. A week later, he asked if he'd be allowed to meet my mother someday. And I remember smiling, because that single question told me more about his character than 100 grand romantic gestures ever could. My mother likes him. My father likes him. Lauren likes him. Even the kids like him. Most importantly, he treats people with respect. The kind of respect that doesn't disappear when something is imperfect. The kind of respect that understands love isn't measured by appearance. It's measured by effort, by sacrifice, By intention, I'm 35 years old. The damaged sweater is still hanging in my closet. My mother's newest sweater hangs beside it. One represents a painful lesson. The other represents everything worth protecting. And if last Christmas taught me anything, it's this. The people who truly love you don't tear apart the things your heart values most. They protect them, just like they protect you.